joining us on the phones right now here on the Chad Hasty Show, the state chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Always a pleasure to visit with our next guest, James Dickey, joining us here on the show. James, good morning. How are you today? And let's see, do we have Chairman Dickey on?
Good
there
morning.
We go.
Good morning, Chad. I am so glad to be back with you, and I am enjoying this gorgeous spring Texas day.
Well, that's great. We always appreciate you coming on the show. Let's start off. The Democrats just had their virtual convention. They are preparing to turn Texas blue. You had the former vice president who said that it's within striking distance. What do you say when you hear that from the Texas Democrats?
The last time they were saying it this loudly was 2014 when Senator Cornyn beat their nominee by 27 points, and I think we're going to see the same kind of results this year because we're doing the hard work and because they are literally phoning it in. He said that at a online-only convention because they are too afraid and not leading well enough to be able to even get together. And he did it in a recorded speech because they can't even trust him to go live to their own Democrat convention. It's ridiculous.
Well, a live Joe Biden is a very dangerous thing. I mean, we've seen Joe Biden go live, and there's sometimes where you just go, what? I wonder how many takes it took for Joe Biden to get through that speech. What are the Republicans planning on? I know you're planning on actually having a real convention.
Absolutely. In July 16th through the 18th in Houston, we are going to have thousands of great Texas Republicans together once again to do what they can really only do in person, which is have a grassroots-led, bottom-up convention where it is our delegates from all over the state who set our platform, the principles that we're going to fight for, the rules, the structure under which we fight for it, and our leadership for across the state, because we are the most grassroots-driven, bottom-up party in the entire country in either party.
How much do you think the grassroots and those who are attending the convention, we have this movement, the defund the police movement on the left, and even though Joe Biden says he doesn't endorse that, there are a lot of the activists, the grassroots, if you will, on the left who do endorse the idea of defunding the police. Do you think that's going to be an issue that pops up at the Republican convention of being a major stand by Republicans?
Oh, I think it absolutely is going to be an issue. We took a tough stand to defund Planned Parenthood last time, and we got to that through the legislature. And we have taken a tough stand to defund taxpayer-funded lobbying, and we are taking a big stand to defund the union. It's not the police that are a problem. In fact, it is absolutely hilarious how ironic it is and how hypocritical it is that those same people who are saying they want to defund the police, they also want to defund and totally restrict your ability to defend yourself. We are going to show the hypocrisy, the absurdity of all of that, and frankly, this extremism in the Democrat Party that we are seeing at every level. And don't let Joe Biden fool anybody. He is willing to be led along from everything from the Green New disaster to letting O'Rourke take your guns. He is letting the most extreme parts of his party drive his policy, and we are going to remind voters of that all the way to victory in November.
Visiting with Chairman James Dickey here on the Chad Hasty Show. I've got to ask you, obviously you got the state convention coming up. There's a big question about the Republican National Convention and where that's going to go. I know you've been, open arms, welcoming the National Republican Convention. What are you hearing? What were the talks on that? And is it possible that we could see the convention here in Texas?
Well, we have been delivering the message that we in Texas are going to lead by example by having our convention in July, and we're happy to be the leaders in that front. And we are welcoming for the National Convention. Absolutely, we've heard there are 5 locations in the country that they're those. The runner-up for the 2016 convention was Dallas, or more precisely, the DFW area. And so DFW is in the running right now, and they are under very serious consideration. Great facilities, people willing and interested in hosting the event. But the bottom line is, no matter where that convention is in the country, we absolutely are able to pull it off. If anybody can pull it off, Texans can pull it off, and we would welcome them if they choose to have it here.
Let me ask you, just as I mean, I think we're gonna see a smaller version of it. You know, the differences between a virtual convention on the Democrat side here in Texas and the in-person convention for the Republicans. Blow that up to the national conventions. If the national Democrats have a virtual convention where you have a taped Joe Biden, and then you have a real convention with a in-person Donald Trump firing up the crowd, how does that just play politically and theatrically, if you will, for voters who are watching?
Oh, I think it makes a huge difference. A big part of the conventions is being that energy catapult to the last big window of the election. And in late August in Texas, I mean, that national convention is going to be 60 days before early voting starts.
Yeah.
And so it is an important energy boost, and no question, the president's leadership, the commitment of those who support the president, it's going to show the enthusiasm gap between the two parties, which could not be bigger.
Do you worry about any of the polling data that you've seen so far, and that at least the public polling data that has been put out there, or are Republicans in pretty good shape right now in Texas?
Well, yes and no. I am not worried about it in that there are enough holes in it that you could drive a Mack truck through. So I'm not concerned that it shows any serious actual risks in and of itself on a current basis. What I am worried about is that either it will demoralize some people who would have turned out,
right,
and or it'll make others unwilling to put in the effort necessary. I mean, one of the points I've seen, again, we're going to win and we're going to deliver victory from the White House to courthouses all over Texas, but only because we are going to do the work, and we're not going to let any poll stop us from doing that work.
Very good. State Chairman of the Texas Republican Party. Always a pleasure to visit with James Dickey. Chairman, thank you very much. We'll visit with you again as 2020 continues.
I can't wait.
All right. Thank you. That's James Dickey, the state chairman of the Republican Party of Texas.